with a big dunk.
Big win. I understand that the opposition was upset with the refs a lot of last night, but this was a great win by the Raptors. A lot of whining at the refs by both sides during this basketball game. Excellent win by the Raptors.
Great finish by Kawhi. You know, go to the left hand. Very few of our superstars can finish like that with both hands at the rim.
Sixers, Knicks. Ben Simmons takes the pass and absolutely bodies poor Noah Vonleh, then throws it down.
Oh, man, he was sending a message. They had a little altercation before this. Ben Simmons, a little LeBron James action right here.
Get
that
on.
LeBron spin move, not as quick as LeBron, but work on it. He's right in his range right there, Jenna. That little circle, that's it. That's his universe.
There we go.
Suns and Boston, check this out. Kyrie, between the leg pass to Jason Tatum on the fast break.
Listen, this is vintage Kyrie. That's beautiful, and a great finish by Tatum, who knew he knew some pass was coming. Was not caught by surprise at all. Very surprising fourth quarter in this game yesterday.
Surprising that we haven't seen Jason Tatum on the highlights as much as we thought after a spectacular playoff run last year.
Same game. You see the handles there?
Good
Just
Lord.
unfair. Breaks down two defenders, hits the reverse layup. So good.
I mean, this is where it's plays like this that make you say Kyrie Irving, the greatest handles ever. In flat Earth history, the greatest handles ever. In round Earth history, doesn't matter. With respect to the original Isaiah Thomas, it's got to be Kyrie, man.
No, the only reason why you can say that is because Isaiah Thomas says that. Isaiah Thomas taught me how to dribble, met him at a young age. Oh, my goodness. He had the best handle until this dude was born on flat Earth.
Time for today's Subway Choice moment. So the Chiefs face a tough road challenge as they travel to Seattle. Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, the two have a lot in common. Both rank in the top 5 in passer rating. Both go off script, give defenses fits, and both were actually drafted to play baseball. It is a good thing that didn't work out. Here's what Seahawks coach Pete Carroll had to say about facing Kansas City.
They have shown everything now. You know, we've seen them. You know, after all these games, we know what kind of the whole scope of this offense is. The first month of the season, everybody was kind of on their heels, and so hopefully we can settle into it. It's not that it gets easy because they have such a diverse attack that you got to be ready for a lot of stuff. But our guys are they're up for it. They're ready for the challenge and all of that. And we got to do a great job on their really classy receivers. Kelsey and Hill are just unbelievably talented guys, having great years. So there's a lot of issues here. So I think our guys will be ready to do this.
All right, CC, we'll start with you. This isn't the defense of a couple years ago, but it's still been pretty good, at least a good scoring defense. How do they slow down Patrick Mahomes in this Kansas City Chiefs offense?
Well, one way is trying to keep them off the field. So the Seattle and Pete Carroll, he thinks they're up to the challenge. That means challenging for Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson in that offense. If they don't win time of possession by 3 or 4 minutes, they don't have no chance against this type of offense. If they don't turn them over, they don't win the turnover battle, not by 1, but by 2. So I'm looking for 34 minutes time possessions, and they got to win the turnover battle by 2. So in doing that, and Seattle has been great in both those areas. Number 1 in the NFL throughout the season. They changed their philosophy of how they're going to do things. They are not going to drop Russell Wilson back 45 times a game and tell him, hey, I need you to make 8 or 10 plays on your own. No, they are a physical football team. Their defense matches up with the physicality of that offense. They don't turn the ball over, and Russell can make just enough plays. They're a different team playing at home, so that is always an advantage. But the fast surface and the quickness that I believe Kansas City will enjoy playing on that turf, because the last few weeks they haven't been able to do that. It's been cold in Kansas City. The field's not the same. So if you want a recipe to win in one of these games, how to negate one of these big-time offenses, you have them sitting on the sideline. And then when they get on the field, they're rushing because they know, man, we don't have time of possession, and that forces mistakes, which lead to turnovers. That's the way that Seattle is able to get it done at home. If they're great in those 2 areas, time of possession and win that turnover margin by 2, the Seahawks can upset Kansas City.
I'm glad you're talking about winning the turnover margin, not by 1, but by 2, because I know that the odds makers in Vegas say the Chiefs are only a 2.5 point favorite in this game. Because of how these teams match up against each other, I think the Chiefs, if things go evenly, I don't think Seattle has a realistic path to victory. What we know is, as great as Russell Wilson and the Seahawks have been since he's gotten there, they're 4-27 if the opponent scores more than 24 points. Not 34 points, 24 points. And the Chiefs are the first team in NFL history to score at least 26 every single week of the year through 14 weeks. Like, a great defensive performance against the Chiefs is what the Ravens did, 27. What the Chargers did, 28. And so if you're going to get in the air, and by the way, this year for the Seahawks, it's been a good year when their opponent breaks 24 points. They're 1-5. Like, the way they beat you is low scoring, grinded out games. And this year in particular, time of possession, because they're running the ball for 150 yards every single week. 10 of the last 11 games, they've gone for 150 plus. The one part where it's still, I think, even despite all that, doesn't play in Seattle's favor is the Chiefs have been a bad time possession team all year. They're bottom 6 time possession. They're used to playing at 28 minutes.
All of the highest scoring teams, if you look at the top 5 highest scoring teams in NFL history, none of them won the time of possession over the season. The reason why? Because all of them had that quick strike ability and time of possession. It's not that important, especially when you have the lead. When you have the lead compared to trying to come from behind, and that's what teams, New England, when they had the great season, that's what they did. The greatest show on turf, that's what they did. The 98 Vikings, that's what they did. So that's not one of the stats that they'll look at and will scare them.
Normally, I would say Seattle is one of the tougher places to play in the NFL. But a close second might be Kansas City. Do they have any advantage knowing how tough it is for opponents to come in and play in Kansas City? Now they take that show and they bring it to Seattle?
Yeah, it's a great understanding. Playing in Minnesota, we played in the Dome. We always felt like when we went on the road, we still had some advantage because we were used to playing with a lot of noise. Now, typically, we weren't on the field, but as football players, it's great training. When you play in that great environment in Kansas City, when you go on the road to a place like Seattle, no, it's not a shock. For the offensive linemen, which typically it's going to affect more than that, it's not a shock to them, that crowd noise. So it's a small little thing, but it's something in football games. It's the difference in, oh man, illegal procedure, 1st and 15. Right. If Kansas City can keep the number right, 2nd and medium, 3rd and medium, 3rd and short, it becomes very hard for this Seattle defense, which I believe to be a good defense, not a great one. I believe you can take advantage of their cornerbacks on the outside if you keep that number right.
That is the other key to Seattle, is the Chiefs have been a very penalty-prone team. They commit a lot of penalties, and a lot of them are procedural penalties. They are false starts or delay of game situations, and that's where that crowd, particularly Sunday Night Football, where national TV, folks in Seattle have been drinking all day long. They are going to be loud, raucous, and they're coming off a terrible loss. Seattle could have essentially locked up a playoff spot last week, and they lose to the Niners in overtime, where they won the coin toss. After not playing well for 60 minutes, they got the ball first. All you got to do is go down and score. Couldn't do it. So this is a desperate Seattle team, where the Chiefs are in more of an advantageous spot than any team in football this year outside of maybe the Chargers. However, is this. They are battle-tested, man. They played 2 against the Chargers, 1 against Pittsburgh, game against Baltimore, game against New England, game against the Rams, now a game against Seattle. They have played the majority of teams that are going to make the playoffs. The Chiefs have played them already. So they haven't gotten to 11-3 by beating up on bad teams. They have gone through a first-place schedule in a tough division and a tough cross both of their other divisional matchups. The AFC North has a couple good teams. The NFC West has a couple good teams. So playing a team the quality of Seattle won't shock Kansas City. What could shock Kansas City is if Seattle says, we're just going to run it on 1st down. We're going to run it on 2nd down. We're going to run it again on 3rd down. Because where the Chiefs defense, the only thing the Chiefs defense does well is get to the quarterback and force turnovers. And the thing they do worse than anybody is stop the run. And I think Seattle, my game plan if I'm Seattle is Chris Carson, Russell out on an option, like run.
Tell me what this game means for Seattle. Lay out the stakes for this
game. For Seattle, they win the game. They're going to the playoffs. They lose the game. It's all of a sudden in play. They don't.
In a year that they're rebuilding. It means a lot. Coaches like Pete Carroll, oh, no, I'm not rebuilding. I got Russell, man, we're retooling for them to be able to get in the playoffs because let's not forget, they're in a division with the Rams. So to be able to get in and get that wild card spot, I believe it means a lot for Pete Carroll and his program as they move forward. This is a team, because they got some experience. They got some guys. Watch out for Frank Clark in this game.
Yeah.
All right. If you get after the game, if Seattle wins, well, what happened? They dominate time possession. They get the 2 turnovers, and Frank Clark has caused havoc in the backfield of Kansas City.
You asked what it meant for Seattle. For Kansas City, it either means they officially or unofficially lock up the 1 seed. They could, depending on what happens with the Chargers on Saturday, what happens with the Texans, they could officially lock up the 1 seed with a win on Sunday Night Football. But even if it's not official, they have the Raiders at home in Week 17. But if they lose, with the 1 seed, now you're talking about the 5 seed.
Yeah.
Like the Raiders are going to be dangerous. They signed Peterman. Peterman.
You're right.
Peterman.
Right.
They did sign him yesterday.
Yeah, after his 5th tryout. Nate Peterman, man, good to be him.
Right?
1 touchdown, 7 picks career. How about this? 5 tryouts. Everyone wants to give Peterman a job.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, what can the Steelers do to escape New Orleans with a win? That's next. This is First Things First.